Hello. Nice to meet you. My name is Rob. Chances are if you're here, you may already know who I am. I am an online dad, and I'm here to talk to you about how to be another dad for your... Nope, we're gonna do it again. My name is Rob. I am a creator, online horny persona, and online dad. I want to talk to you about social media. I want to talk about nothing. I want to talk about just whatever I feel like. Also, I'm going to fix this light. Hang on. Wait. Okay. Welcome. So, I made a podcast test last week, and while the audio came out good, which is probably the most important part of the podcast, the lighting had gone fucking crazy. It was blowing in, blowing out. It just looked like crap. So, we're going to try it again, this time with the ISO fixed to a certain amount, so it shouldn't do that again. We're going to find out later editing if it did. If it does, then maybe just the last thing I ever do. So we're going to find out together. But in any case, I want to talk to you about social media platforms. And if you are a creator looking to grow yourself and kind of operate in these spaces, what are good places you can go first? What works best? And also just my own personal opinions of what I've dealt with working on these in my time, especially working as a creator myself. I work for marketing for people that support OnlyFans creators as well, besides just myself. So I do like to imagine I've got a little bit of experience I can talk about. So there are a couple of platforms. The really big ones that you want to keep in mind, what we're going to talk mostly about, is going to be for TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. There's more than that. I'm aware there's more than that. These are the four we're going to focus on first and just kind of go over and then figure out as we go other stuff to kind of improve. So first thing is TikTok, and I've got a bone to pick with TikTok. So I'm gonna warn you, if you are a creator who does anything not safe for work, anything even skedaddling towards the idea of explicit, you're gonna have a hard time. TikTok is maybe one of the most Puritan platforms I've ever been on in my life. It is the bane of my existence in some cases. I like being on it for like brain rot shit, but anything past that point as a creator, it is a nightmare. So, for example, and I've talked about it on my platforms there, I have learned that I can show belly on TikTok, but I cannot show like my nipples, because for some reason my nipples are just way too much and they're way too voluptuous, or could be seen as being the female. I don't know. I think I give pretty good man vibes for the most part, so I have no idea where that's coming from. But yeah, good example. I can't be shirtless on that platform. Other people can. For some reason, it's fine for them. For me, it is not. So it's worth it to be there, but just keep in mind you may have a hard time until you figure out what your algorithm wants you to do. I will say, as kind of a more overarching thing to keep in mind, is that when you are a creator, the most important thing to keep in mind and do is to build a brand based on yourself and based on your own persona. Now, when I say persona, it doesn't mean exactly like not being who you actually are, but it is kind of being cognizant about the person you're the person you're pushing forward on these platforms in the first place. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is really important. Some people like the idea of, oh, I'm just going to recreate trends. I'm just going to do what's popular and go on from there, which is that does work in some cases, but over long term, it will hurt you. Because really the trick to all of this, and also building up a fan following, is just to be able to have them fall in love with who you are as a person, more than just what everything you're doing for that moment with a popular audio on TikTok. So that's really important. So assuming everything I'm about to say, I assume you already have this part of your brand and already kind of figured out, what is my niche? What am I going to be going for? What do I like? What do I want to do? How much do I want to show? Where ultimately do I want to have these people go to? If it's not OnlyFans, somewhere else. All things to kind of keep in your noggin. And then there's also Instagram. Instagram is definitely proven itself to be a lot better than it was. I would say about 5 or 6 years ago. It is probably a lot more accepting and more okay with risque content compared to TikTok, but you still need to be careful. Some stuff will still get taken down, you can still get reported, a lot of things you can do. In my experience, Instagram is a lot less willing to ban you outright, if you post something kind of crazy. So, for example, if you were to make a post or do something that was kind of a little bit too much, they won't exactly ban you. They may suspend you for a while. They may lock out your ability to go live or post comments or do DMs. So there is a trade-off with that. You know, at least you kind of know where you stand. But again, please be careful. The other thing with Instagram is that, like with TikTok as well, but I never do on TikTok, Instagram does have the ability to detect if you are sending anything explicit in a DM. I'm sure myself and many other people watching this have been suspended from Instagram multiple times for sending nudes in a DM. Don't do that. They will be able to see it, and then you and that person will get suspended and not be able to DM anyone for like a week. It sucks, but it is, again, the way it is on these horrible platforms. Now, the reason why I want to bring up TikTok and Instagram first, because most importantly, is its algorithm is best suited for new creators just getting established. Twitter and Blue Sky do have a sort of algorithm. I think Blue Sky has less of one than Twitter, but it is a lot harder to find new people on those platforms compared to Instagram and TikTok. You know, there is no discovery feed effectively on Twitter. There is kind of one, but it's not the same thing. You know, those apps are made directly for finding new people to be following and kind of interacting with them. So even if you don't like those platforms, it is still critical you use them and make sure you're posting content that is within most realms of appropriate. I've also noticed that typically if you are a thinner person, you can get away with more on those platforms compared to being a fat dude like myself. So I would definitely suggest carefully play with it if you're going to post content on TikTok, especially first. Post content without a shirt. Post content with just your belly showing. Post content with the contour of your butt showing, but don't actually show any skin. Play with it for a while. Post videos. I would definitely suggest posting at least 3 videos a day if you can. Shoot for early in the morning or late at night when you're making these posts. There is an Instagram app, or not Instagram. There is a TikTok app called TikTok Studio that actually lets you upload and schedule videos ahead of time. That's a really great resource for posting stuff if you're not really available to do it at that moment, in that evening or the morning. And just do that. Play with it. Now, when your video is being... Videos don't always get taken down immediately on TikTok. They sometimes get deprioritized in the For You page or get hidden. So you'll still see the video, and your people who follow you will still see your video, but new people won't find that in their For You page. So the best way to find out if you've been is in your creator settings in TikTok, there is a account check option, and there it will actually list off your 10 to 15 most recent videos, and if they've been flagged, you can kind of see down that list what's going on. You can appeal it in some cases, but generally won't go anywhere, but it is option if you do want to use it. But typically, that helps you find out relatively quickly what content is okay and not okay on that platform, and then you can kind of work with that. It took me a while to kind of figure that out. I was posting videos with my belly out, with my full shirt off. Even now, it's still inconsistent. Like, I can post a video of me in a bathrobe and a little bit of something showing, but not really, and that'll still be okay, but it's just weird. So again, play with it, see what works best for you, kind of figure it out for yourself. It does require some trial and error just to kind of see what it wants to do, because somehow internally, TikTok may think you're just a big-breasted woman and hide everything if you're not being careful, so just play with it. I would also suggest for Instagram and TikTok to follow as many people in your niche as you possibly can. For us over here in the bear world, follow as many bear creators as you can, interact with them, comment. That will help your TikTok algorithm for yourself adjust over time to make sure it's being kind of put in the right spot, and also show those people your content as well, because it's going to assume you like both the same things. So definitely something to keep in mind. Also, if you do run into problems on TikTok where your video gets taken down, you're not sure what to do, post it on Instagram. Chances are it'll be fine on Instagram. It's just too much for TikTok. So always have that. For Instagram Reels, I would definitely suggest downloading what's called Instagram Edits. It's essentially their version of CapCut they rolled out with. But when you upload a video through their program instead of just through the app directly, it does give the video a increased bitrate quality compared to a standard upload, so it looks better, as well as, some say, a algorithmic boost to show it's been uploaded through its app instead of through the general one. So if you have the ability to, what I like to do is actually record all of my videos on my phone first, and then upload them individually to TikTok and Instagram. And that way you're not downloading them and uploading them and going back and forth. There is some people like to talk about that if you upload a video to TikTok and then download it and upload to Instagram, it can hurt it in the algorithm. I, in my experience, have not seen that really being the case, but it very well could be, and a lot of people who work for TikTok and Instagram say that is not what they do, but who knows? I know there are some creators who actually strip metadata out of the videos and they download them just to be able to upload on Instagram to have not any issues. But again, look into that for yourself, see if it works for you, great. If not, just re-record it. But again, it's easier for quality anyway, just to record it first on your phone directly and then upload that to each app as you go and then just not worry about it. One thing I do want to say as well, which is going to be a little bit controversial, there have been on the TikTok side and the Instagram side a conversation about hashtags no longer being necessary. I feel like this, not the CEO, but one of the higher ups of Meta who works at Instagram, it said they're at this point no longer using hashtags to define the algorithm. It's actually based on more of the post content, and TikTok looks to be about the same. So I know that for a lot of us, we want to depend on hashtags for people finding us and whatnot, but really as we go on, it's looking more and more like the content of the video description and what you're saying in the video is what kind of determines where it falls in the algorithm. So it sucks because you got to do a little more work, obviously, but in this case, if you're making a belly video, put more of a description, more than hashtags in that video, and you'll probably see it do a lot better. I've been doing it more recently myself. It's been doing great. It is less work for me, and also with TikTok, very quickly they can ban hashtags, and if a video has a banned hashtag, the entire video can get taken down or just deprioritized and not be on the For You page. So it can be a pain in the ass, especially checking constantly if they're still good. And because TikTok is what the fuck ever, often they'll ban hashtags that are just benign but queer. For example, right now, as of recording this, the hashtag for gay bear, singular, is a banned hashtag, but gay bears, plural, is not. So that could change anytime now, and they just take both of them down, or a different one comes up. So you're always running to the risk of having something being removed, especially later on, that you're not even aware of, and they're just kind of SOL. For the record, if that does happen, you do have the ability to go back and re-edit your video in TikTok and change its description, its hashtags or whatever, but you still have to know ahead of time which hashtag is the one that's causing the problem. So I would just say avoid it altogether as best you can unless something you see says otherwise, but in my working experience and also just doing everything else, it really does look like that is the case of just ignoring it is best. So that's really all I want to talk about in terms of those two. They should be some of the first places you go, because again, TikTok and Instagram are built to have people find new followers and people to kind of reach out to and kind of interact with, much more than Twitter and Blue Sky are. However, the downside of Instagram and TikTok is that you can't post anything too explicit. They're very, very Puritan. You can't get away with much. And so there is kind of a constant fight back and forth to make sure that what you're posting is not being removed or just having your entire account get shafted. So let's talk about the next two. The next two are Twitter and Blue Sky. Chances are, if you're here, you already know me from Twitter, because that's usually where I post. That's where I built my following. So, hello. These two platforms are very different, but very much the same. Both of these are definitely more built, in my opinion, not for discovery of new creators, but keeping up with creators you already follow. So, I mean, I don't need to explain it too much. You probably all know what Twitter and Blue Sky do. It is essentially just a microblogging service where you can just post random tweets and upload them. The nice thing about Twitter and Blue Sky is that there is no limitation, except for some other very clearly illegal things, about posts. You can go full hog on Twitter and Blue Sky. They really don't care, which is great. It's one of the few platforms left that actually still are okay with that, which is very uncommon these days. So with Twitter and Blue Sky, it's a little bit harder to grow there. You definitely want to have a following. In my experience doing marketing and social media for other people, typically what we do is build up a funnel, and the funnel will start at TikTok to Instagram, move them to Twitter or wherever else, and then eventually OnlyFans or whatever other pay site they're currently using. So Twitter is good in terms of I'll put it this way. TikTok and Instagram are great for having people find you, and Twitter and Blue Sky are best to have people reminded you exist. I think one thing as a creator you have to keep in mind is that most of us, everyone, if that, we all have some level of ADHD and some level of not remembering anything, and so having a constant reminder of your existence and your content is really critical to make sure you gain subscribers and actually still grow. So in terms of Twitter and Blue Sky, you definitely should shoot for multiple posts a day. It's similar posting schedule to what it is for TikTok and Instagram, so ideally earlier in the morning, later in the evening or afternoon. If it's the weekend, it could be a little bit different as well. It can just depend. Depending on your time zone too can be really important, so just kind of keep all that in mind. But yeah, I mean, I would say for Twitter and Blue Sky, you have a lot more leniency what you can get away with. Again, because of the way it being a microblogging service, as I mentioned in my last video, the stuff you post there will be there forever, unless you delete them all one by one. So be very cognizant and be very aware of how you're approaching people online, what you're saying, who you're interacting with, and make sure that if someone new finds you and they go to your page, they just don't think you're crazy. That's really important. So make sure you're very mindful of the optics, as I worded last time, about what you need to be doing, and just making sure you're making a good impression for new people. So pretty simple stuff. Now I also want to go off a couple other platforms besides those 4 that are also pretty critical, but also very niche for whatever your actual style of creation is. We have Telegram, Tumblr, and YouTube. So Telegram is more of an instant messaging service, but does have an option for what's called a channel. And Telegram channels give you the ability to essentially have a one-sided feed post about all the stuff you want to post that people can either comment or just view only. And it's a really good way, again, like with Twitter and Blue Sky, to remind people that you exist. Now, with Telegram, it's very easy to mute a channel once you've joined it, and that person may not ever see it again. So it's very important that when you do post that channel, it's very infrequent compared to other social media, maybe once a day. If that, keep it very light, don't put too much, don't spam people out, because the more you do that, the higher chance they're going to get overwhelmed and just back out, because otherwise, if they don't mute it, they will get a push notification every time you post. And obviously, if you're posting 30 times a day, that's going to get really overwhelmed and then they're going to want to back out. So be mindful of that. Just be very careful. Don't push it too much on that one, but it is critical. Another great part of Telegram is that you also can do promotions and links. You don't have to worry about it like on Twitter and Instagram or the other ones that can deprioritize links or just hide them in some cases. So it's good to have that. I would definitely recommend having a Telegram channel, especially if you're a queer creator and doing more stuff. A lot of us tend to use Telegram pretty often because of its security features that hopefully still exist, even though it may be changing soon. But that was the draw for us initially, at least. So it could be different now. Next thing is Tumblr. I gotta be honest, I don't know any more about Tumblr. When I first started doing content, that was one of the first places I actually posted to, and this is before they banned not safe for work content. So back in the day, you can go hog wild. They didn't care. You could post whatever you wanted, and for me, making very aesthetic and like fancy photographs, it was great. But once they banned that content, it just became really difficult to post there. I'm not saying don't use it, but it may end up being more work than it's worth, in my opinion. So Tumblr is, of course, a more long-form blog content. So I would say it works really well if you're more of a creator who does writing. Anything with long-form stuff is good there. You know, if you're a creator who's doing a show or doing a YouTube channel and you want to have your Tumblr be a place to put behind-the-scenes content, if you're a digital artist who want to show your work in progress, talking about your OCs, that's a really great place for it because it's very easily cataloged and searchable compared to like Twitter or Blue Sky, which can work in that way, but it's not great for it. So something to keep in mind. The last one is YouTube. So, hey, chances are this may be on YouTube. We're going to find out if it can upload or not. YouTube is great. YouTube is, like with TikTok and Instagram, a more Puritan platform. You can generally get away with more stuff. You can't be explicit, but you can use more rough language, talk about different subject matters, and generally they're more accepting of that stuff than other platforms might be without going too crazy. I don't know a ton about its payment structure and how they pay creators. I don't think it's worth it in some cases unless you're really, really into YouTube, but it is there and available. The good thing about making content for YouTube is that it can be repurposed. So for example, on this video right now, this podcast, chances are I'm going to cut this thing up, put it in like a vertical video, and then post it on TikTok and Instagram Reels. It's a great place to kind of start with and post clips from. Same thing with live streaming on Twitch. You can use clips and VODs to repurpose on different socials, so it's great. And then also Twitch, as we're getting into that as well. I don't know a ton about it in terms of like personally using it, but again, for all of you who don't know, it's a game streaming service where you can gain a considerable audience. Like with YouTube, having that there is great because you can repurpose its content. A great way to gain followers who fall in love with you for who you are more than just posting photos of your hog. So it's good to have that as well if you're into live streaming. I personally get incredibly anxious being on live streams, so I don't really do it very often. I enjoy the attention of it. Shocker. But it's just something where I'm just so afraid something will go wrong and I don't have the ability to like edit it out. I usually avoid it. So that's me. But really, that's all I wanted to go over today. I mean, we're probably like 24 minutes in. It's a decent length, right, for a video? It's okay. It's not like an hour, but it's something, I guess. But yeah, I guess that's it. Any case, thanks for watching, making it this far. Hopefully this information helps you and does something for you and not just be talking to the void for nothing. If you have any questions about approaching certain platforms, especially if they're more like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to offer any advice and help where I can. Just know that, like with everything else in this world, it does take work to get to this kind of level. If you want to build a following, it is very important. Oh, and also, I'm going to complain about this too. What the fuck? As of this video being recorded, there was news that TikTok is going to be bought out and repurposed for an American audience only, called M. And it's being purchased by Oracle, who is one of the major providers of data centers in the United States. So essentially, we're having our very own, very special American version of TikTok, but they're not tracking us at all. Absolutely not. That's not happening. So there's a chance there could be a schism happening with TikTok, as there was with Twitter when Elon Musk took over, which is a whole fucking thing I'm not going to get into. So yeah, maybe I'll close with that. That's a good way to close. It's great to have platforms. It's great to have an audience. But I would definitely, you dear viewer, keep this in mind. You have to keep in mind that any of these platforms can change their policies, change the terms of service, exist or not exist between today and tomorrow. Things can change so rapidly. I made this mistake with Tumblr back in the day. I thought Tumblr would always be around and always allow them not safe for work, and they changed that real quick once they've got bought out by that next company. So you have to spread yourself out. You have to be in more than one place at once. You need to be on all these platforms at the same time, because if one of them goes down, or one of them has a fuck-ass takeover, or who knows what else, you're going to be SOL and have to rebuild from scratch. So I would definitely suggest look into these platforms, look into other platforms. There's other TikTok competitors coming out that I think one is owned by Blue Sky, or it integrates with the Blue Sky chain that works with them. So that's something else people are looking into now. But really, the point of this entire conversation is you have to be able to make sure your platform and your audience will exist and survive if one of these places goes kaput. Because they probably will at some point, or some crazy person will just take over and then you'll be SOL. So that is my closing argument. That is my closing statement to keep in mind. Definitely make sure you are going to as many places as you possibly can, expand your audience as much as you can. You know, have the insurance for yourself that even if this one place goes down, you still have the others, and you still have a backup of a backup of a backup of a backup to keep surviving. Because right now it's the best we can do. You know, we are at the mercy of these platforms and what they want to do. And if they decide to ban certain content or change how they operate, we really have no recourse to fight against that. We can't do anything. You know, we're just a user. So keep that in mind, expand yourself, look into what works, look into what doesn't, and yeah. Oh, ooh, 27 minutes. That's a lot better than whatever it was before. All right. So, any case, have a wonderful rest of your day. Dad loves you. And again, any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Goodbye.